program, which on Wednesday, June the 14th, is totally lacking of politicians, etc., etc., etc. For some reason, we have a guest who has failed to appear. Maybe they stopped at Chubby's on the way for a bowl of oatmeal before they came here. In any event, friend, sidekick, and co-host Lloyd Kirby was with me this morning. By the way, Lloyd, I'll make a comment here. Judy withdrew herself from Viewpoint. She was worried about sitting up in front of a microphone and making a mistake, and withdrew herself. And Lloyd Kirby is very capably and very nobly stepped in. He's not near as pretty as Judy, but he's nice to sit next to. So, Lloyd, I appreciate your professionalism. It's been a joy to work with you. By the way, before you make a comment, Lloyd, I mentioned Judy's name. Judy had an accident yesterday at the village where we live, and she's now in the hospital. She fell and broke something. So I'd like to ask our listeners, both of you out there, more than that this morning, to send Judy Busby a card at the Memorial Hospital here in Lincoln, Illinois. It'd be nice for a lot of you to send her a card and just tell her that you're thinking about her and miss her. She's been a great lady and a very, very smart lady, and she's missed up here. But, Lloyd, I appreciate you. As I said, I used the word professionalism, and that was correct use of the word. We appreciate your being with us, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. Professionalism, though, doesn't that mean I'm supposed to get paid for this?
I'd say so. And
We're having a meeting then.
I have 51% of the show, so I can say what I want.
Well, you always get top billing, so as it should be.
So tell us about your background, Lloyd. This is not a new gig for you, radio and communications.
No, well, I sort of grew up in a journalism family. My mom worked at the Courier for, since I was in kindergarten up through college, so I've always been around news and journalism and communicating. My sister studied radio and worked at the public radio station at what was then Sangamon State University along the same time Mr. Ash did, I believe. My dad was big into citizen band radio, and he was in communications when he was in the Army. Called square dances. I mean, that's a form of communication, I guess. But
call it square dances. That ought to be a communications expert.
yeah, exactly. So, I grew up, like I said, with sort of a journalism and communication always being
Lloyd,
around.
This would be an appropriate time to mention our station manager, engineer, announcer, etc., etc. He even cleans your toilets, doesn't he?
I believe so.
Jim Ash. Listeners, you'd be surprised at the hours Mr. Ash puts in up here at WLCN. Jim, you show up in the studio at what time in the morning?
4.
About 4 in the morning. And along about 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon, he starts to head home. Now, folks, that's a 12-hour day. I don't care how you count it. Jim has been in broadcasting since he was a pup. Started out at WPRC, which was a Prairie Radio Corporation in those days. Started out by Lincoln men. And that was out by the old, what we called the State School and Colony in those days. Oh, by the way, that's going to be an active place there. So one of these days, we had a couple of experts from the state of Illinois here a month ago to tell us about that. So look for some action out there. But Jim he's had broadcasting in his veins. He's a local boy right up here in Atlanta, and but he has to drive further. He still lives in Lincoln. And he's the greatest dog walker that was ever invented. He and his family. they work not only their dogs, but the neighbors' dogs for them.
I've seen the size of some of those dogs.
Do you think they get a per capita on that?
I'm not sure who's walking who sometimes.
I'm going to tell you a story, and it ties in with the subject matter that was supposed to be on the air this morning, the Christian Village. Many years ago, and I'm not going to. I hope I don't bore you about this, but this is a true event, and it speaks to what the Christian Village means to our community. I went to see a former coach and teacher of mine who was in a custodial care place. I heard he was in a nursing home. That was the word that was used. And I went to see this fella. And I walked into a very bleak room about the size of this studio. Nothing on the walls at all. And he was in a couch, not even a decent bed. And a couch and a straight chair there, which was only good for about 5 minutes, designed, I think, to keep visitors down. When I walked into his room, he saw me and recognized me, and tears started to flow in his eyes. This is a serious story, folks. And I stayed a little while, and I figured it was time to leave. And when I left, he teared up badly. And I have to tell you, the old man teared up too. It was a sad thing. The point of my story is that was supposed to, quote, to be a nursing home. And it was kind of typical of that time. Folks who had larger homes and they were empty and needed to find an extra buck or two, they would open their house up for a, quote, nursing home. It wasn't a nursing home at all. It was custodial care is what it boiled down to. I call warehousing. It was a sad thing, very sad thing. And I kind of get choked up when I think about Jack on his couch crying that morning. So the point of the whole story is simply the Christian Village and places like that around the country offer the communities a great alternative. And I had hoped to expound on that quite a bit with our guest this morning because she's in charge of the programming there. Any of you had any experience with the Christian homes and or nursing homes per se? Feel free to call in 648-5510. We're extremely lucky. Mrs. Gossett and I now live at the Christian Village in one of the duplex apartments. They're lovely. Couldn't ask for anything more, and it's all we need. Not about, it's all we need. They make fine meals for us if we want to go there and pay them the exorbitant price of $5 a meal. Exorbitant price.
Got a guest.
You have somebody out there?
I believe I heard a door. So
okay, well, we'll bring our guest. Come in, guest. Come in, Andy. Come in, sit down here, dear. Sit right down. Nice to see you. Our guest this morning just arrived. She just came from Chubby's.
Absolutely.
Stop for a morning beer. Andy, I was just telling, kind of equating the difference between what we enjoyed today with the Christian Village and, quote, for one of a better, the old days. I was telling about going visiting an old friend of mine, my high school coach and teacher, and he had no family.
Yeah.
And he was living in really bleak circumstances. They didn't have a decent bed for him. He was on a couch in his room, in his home, in his residence. And contrast that to what the Christian Village and sister villages like that around the country offer our residents. So let's pick up from where you like to pick up on what the Christian Village's mission is here, Mrs. Hake. By the way, excuse me 1 minute. I doff my hat to you to make the introduction, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. So from the Christian Village, we have, whoops, let me get your name up here.
No dead mic. We don't allow that.
Andy Halley from the Christian Village, and what is your title again?
I'm the executive director.
Yep. Okay, I had it right.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Welcome, and
welcome.
Tell us about the Christian Village and the mission.
Yeah. So, honestly, the Christian Village is part of Christian Horizons organization. The Christian Village is the flagship community. So it was started over 60 years ago as the original community with Christian Horizons. We now have homes in Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri. Or I shouldn't say homes, I'm sorry, communities. And in the community, we do have guests that stay at our independent living, which is where Bill's at. We have the apartments, the cottages, the duplexes, garden homes. Really, if you just don't want to do yard work anymore, to be completely honest.
It's a complete village for old people.
Okay. Whatever.
We have the assisted living for those who might just need a little bit more help, and then we have our skilled nursing that has our short-term rehab as well. One thing that we really are focusing on now that COVID is starting to be more in our rear view and not our primary focus anymore is getting back to the basics and focusing on everything and enhancing the services and life enrichment activities, which is what Bill touched on. The life enrichment activities, just because you move into a community doesn't mean you don't want to do anything, right? So we're really focusing on adding back or adding to what we already have more and more life enrichment activities. Last week, in the skilled nursing building, the nursing center, my life enrichment director and her aide and my son, they took a group of our residents fishing.
Oh.
Haven't been fishing. They went down to Beeson, went down to the lake down in Beeson, and had a grand old time. Caught some catfish. Caught some. I think Blaine said he caught some bluegills. So just looking at the person as a whole, what makes their life full? Whether that's serving, whether that's cooking, whether that's knitting, crocheting. Maybe it's a bucket list. What's on their bucket list? Can we help complete that bucket list? Maybe it's going to the zoo. Who knows? It's really looking at each individual resident and guest that we have and focusing on them.
Mrs. Hake, I think I heard my ears aren't working very well this morning. It's called old age. You mentioned the son.
Uh-huh.
After we go to a commercial, which we'll let Mr. Ice handle very quickly, I want to get back to that boy just a
Okay.
minute. Go ahead, James. Back live in the studios here. The program is Viewpoint, of course. Our guest, Andy Halley, Tui, Andy Halley with us. And Hannah is director of the Christian Village out there. And that's a very, very important place to us. Prior to the time when we went off there for our commercials, Mrs. Halley mentioned her sons. And she and I had a conversation about that in the congregate building within the last couple of weeks, and I can't remember a word about it. But anyway, she was proud. One boy going away to college on a scholarship.
Yeah.
So let's address that just a minute, Andy.
Okay. Well, we took him down last Saturday. Saturday was the big day. We took him down to Southern Illinois and he reported for football practice on Sunday.
So he has a scholarship.
He does have a scholarship. Yep, he was awarded a full scholarship to play football down there at Southern Illinois. So we'll see if he can live up to the mustard. He played football for Olympia High School, and they had a very good year last year. It was the first time, I believe, in 34, 37 years that we made it past, made it into the quarterfinals. So it was a good time and a fun time to be a Spartan. So
my dad was very disappointed he didn't give me an extra kick in the derriere the day I was born because I was never big enough for a scholarship. Academically I was going to be all right, but physically on the team I was out of business because I was too doggone small. Well, so that was always a disappointment, one of his many disappointments for me, I'm sure. In any event, it is seriously a nice thing to have a son go away to college and our daughter on a scholarship. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And some of these youngsters, some of these young ladies can earn academic scholarships. Yep. And boy, that's a load off of somebody's shoulders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, when he didn't start playing football till he was in 8th grade, and he told Eric Lyons, the football coach out there at Olympia, he said, well, I think I want to play football in college. And Coach told him, well, God blessed you with the size, so we'll see if we can't figure out the rest.
Yeah, seriously. Well, as we go to work at Christian Village, you open your door in your office, there's always a new challenge every morning.
Absolutely.
For instance, I didn't call you until you both toilets were out in my apartment. I figured that wasn't your job. That was taken care of immediately, by the way. But on a serious note, there is not a day goes by that you don't have a new challenge. What would you describe a typical day as you go into your office, Andy?
Well, there's not a typical day. You hit it on the head. Okay. That's the wonderful thing about my job is that I cannot predict what I'm going to do every day. I go in with a to-do list and hope and pray that I get it done in the day. But the biggest joy I have each day is getting to sit and chat with my residents and their families and the guests in the congregate building and this independent living, and that's what brings me joy. So I may take a little more extra time to make sure everyone has what they need and they're doing what they want to do, and maybe that to-do list sometimes waits a little bit.
By the way, just as an aside, they keep us busy out there. They've made activities available. I'm not one for sitting around playing chess or checkers or pinochle or anything like that. I've got too much to do to sit around a card table. But in any event, those available things are available for the folks, and they're used by the people out there, which is a very nice thing. Yesterday, we had one of the great black and white movies of all time, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, with Jimmy Stewart. And what a classic movie that was. And by the way, I think all politicians who go to Washington today ought to be made to watch that and write a report on it because it exposed how rotten some of those people are out there. But on a serious basis, the Christian Village is an important thing for those. It's really important to those of us who live there, but it's an important thing for the community to have available. Some folks are lucky with their family tree. Others, by the time they get to be my age, they're alone. And to find a place like the Christian Village to drop your anchor is a godsend. And we all recognize that, in fact, some of these folks out there who have what they call nursing homes, they're more than, they're just warehouses. And so the village. Let's talk about the Christian Village as its activities throughout Central Illinois. I know we have Lewis Memorial, and we have three others around here.
Yep, we have one in Washington. We have a assisted living in Washington. We have a community in Decatur, Hickory Point, and then there's a Lewis Memorial down in Springfield, as well as River Birch in Springfield.
Now, all of these are under the auspices, not the auspices, but under the jurisdiction of a board of directors. Am I correct in that? And those are the people to whom you report.
Eventually, yeah. Yep.
What is it? I think Julie, and by the way, folks, Julie King, who's director of living out there at the Christian Village, does a marvelous job for us. Incidentally, Lloyd, come and have lunch with me someday. I don't know where I can afford it very much. It's only $5 a meal. I spill that much with whiskey. So
I've heard that.
well, seriously, they serve a wonderful meal for us out there, and they work hard, and it's pleasant circumstances. But Julie and I were talking, and I think if she'd have been able to be here today, you were going to talk about something that is on the boards or the. Tell me about that. I'm very vague about it.
Yeah, no, what Julie and I have been working on some, bringing, and I think we touched on it already, is bringing additional, adding to our already busy life enrichment activities, adding more to it to make sure that we are touching every aspect of what the needs and desires are of our guests and our residents, to make sure that if there's something that they want to do, try, then we're going to do it, and we're going to try it. Working on, working on putting together items to allow when our life enrichment team is not there, because as much as we love our residents, my staff does go home every so often. So when the life enrichment team's not there, if there's something they want to do, they can go in and pull out the activity, make sure they have all the supplies, and make sure that everything is there to keep everyone busy and happy, because nobody wants to just sit alone in their apartment or in their room and in their suite, or just look at four walls. So let's keep everyone busy.
Well, you've hired Jamie Morrow to come and assist the residents out there with various activities and so forth. And he's very, very dedicated to that. For instance, it's a technical challenge to bring on a movie like Mitchell Smith Goes to Washington. And he fixes popcorn for us and gives us a drink while we're watching the movie. Small thing, but it's, as the old saying, little things mean a lot. And that's what, I guess that would be the modus operandi out there. Little things mean a lot to each and every visitor.
That's right. Yeah, looking at, it's the small stuff, right? When I interviewed at the Christian Village 3 years ago to come on board, it was honestly the facts. I don't know if you remember Max, the little dachshund, the resident dachshund we had. He's since passed because he was 18 years old. But having that little greeter there, that was a wonderful, just a something extra. I don't know if you know this, Bill, but we have a resident pet, the assisted living building. JoJo, this was Julie. Julie worked with the residents, and we have officially adopted JoJo. JoJo lives in the assisted living building with our residents. She came to us from Logan County Humane Society, and we did the official adoption ceremony with the judge from the courts and everything. So JoJo is an official member of the Christian Village family. So
that's why I go in the back way. We should also mention that we have a fine chaplain out there.
Yes, we do.
And Ryan does a fine job for us. A lot of people can't get away, so he has a Sunday service there in the congregate building. I think he thinks I'm avoiding him, but I've heard him practice. So, no, I want to be very serious about that. That's an important thing for a lot of people, and should be, of course. But he feels a need for them each Sunday and ministers to their ministerial needs, and not every facility is able to offer that with the professionalism that we enjoy out there at the Christian Village.
That's right. Throughout the week as well, he has Bible study and church services throughout the week as well. So trying to make sure that those, like you said, those spiritual needs are met as well.
Tell us a little bit about the facilities in which Gene and I live, the duplexes.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to know about them? They're duplexes. So that's just one of the services that we have to offer, right? People come into our community, and some people want smaller they want to be right next door. They want lots of people around. The congregate building, the apartments are a great setting for that.
They are. And they're plenty roomy.
Plenty roomy, yes. They're wonderful. Or, they may still want their own space, but like the duplexes where they again, plenty roomy, have their own space, get away when they want to, have a full kitchen. And there's a kitchen in the apartments as well, but, a little bit, outside. They have a patio. Just kind of like your own little duplex.
Yeah, a little balcony upstairs. You have a nice little balcony.
Yeah, in the apartment.
Little did I dream, Mrs. Hallie, sorry about that. Testing 1, 2. That Gene and I did the decorating for those places when they were built back in the 70s.
Okay.
Little did I dream that's where we'd end up. And my mother was in in the congregate building for 10 years. And she called me one day from Arizona and says, I'm coming home. And I said, you're going to do what, Mother? And she said, don't worry. I won't live with you. That wouldn't work. And she, at the age of 80, she made arrangements for herself, made all the arrangements on telephone with Tim Serby. And she said, I'm going into what they call the congregate building. Furthermore, you should know I've sold my car. I haven't any business driving. Now, how lucky can a son get? And she was probably right.
And then they serve a great, for those who maybe don't want to live at home anymore or can't live at home anymore, aren't comfortable living alone anymore, but not ready to go into a nursing center or a healthcare center. Those independent living facilities are wonderful, wonderful.
They really, truly. 648-5510. We invite comments from folks who have some experience, or experiences plural, with the Christian Village, or they may have a family member in there. We can't be hurt, so you go ahead and call us. Andy Halley. Oh, by the way, Andy is I-E, not D-Y. I wanted to make sure you knew that. Andy Halley is here as a director at the Christian Village, and we're very appreciative of the fact you take some time. She's got a pretty busy schedule. I slip over there once in a while to get a cup of coffee, and things are always moving. 648-5510 if you have any comments and or suggestions. You can't hurt our feelings because Lloyd and I are just working for Jim.
Exactly. One thing I noticed about the Christian Village is within the last several months, I've noticed several programs that have not only been for the residents but also the community has been invited. The adoption ceremony for JoJo, I believe you had a seminar about like a safe home and protecting against falls and things like that. Is that sort of a concerted effort to bring more folks from the community in to educate them about those kinds of things?
Absolutely, right? I mean, we do have people who don't even know that the Woods Garden Villa, the assisted living building, even existed. So that there's that. Let people see what we have. Sometimes people think, oh, going to the Christian Village, it's a nursing home. I don't want to go there. Well, come in and see us, right? Because it's so much more than a nursing home. But also to educate the general community. The safe room, Julie did the safe room again, and just the everyday hazards, to be able to look around your own home and look and see what are potential hazards that we could have in our own homes, that if we do some minor modifications could keep us safe in our homes longer. Honestly, she brought some of those hazards out, and I'm like, I think I might have that in my fridge at home. She actually needed some expired salad dressings, some expired food. So I'm like, well, let me look in that fridge. Let me see what I can bring in for you.
Well, we have a place out there called the George Garr Center. Would you like to touch on that just a minute, Mrs. Halley?
Yeah, that would be our memory care center.
Yes.
And so that is our where we serve. It's part of the healthcare center, formerly known as the nursing home. And so those are for our residents that do have a dementia diagnosis and really need those extra services of a memory care center, right? So programming, everything is specialized toward those with dementia. The programming, the meals, really focuses on in the environment, the movies, everything, right? It focuses on the different needs, because they are different with those with dementia, and especially the end-stage dementia and the late stages dementia. Our memory care director, who is Lindsay Starcevic, does a wonderful job making sure the programming and staff meets the needs of those residents.
Well, as we get older, it's inevitable. You can put your money on this, Lloyd. As you get older, something's going to go south on you. Mental problems, I think, are the cruelest of all for older people. Dementia they're just not themselves.
They're not, and it's a horrible disease. My grandfather had dementia when he was with us, and so it was every time it was, you could see it slipping a little bit each time. But my staff that works on that unit, that neighborhood they love those residents. All my staff love all the residents, but we try to keep them consistent so that it is somewhat familiar for the memory care residents to see the familiar faces. And, for us as family members, when we come in and we see, maybe mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle is a little different this time than they were 2 weeks ago, they're getting that same love and care and everything from my staff every day.
But one thing that's guaranteed, Mrs. Haley, is that nobody, the resident out there, none of your clients, for want of a better word, are just there and nobody pays any attention to. Somebody is looking after their best interest all the time.
Absolutely. That is 100%. I mean, first of all, it's what we're all called to do. It's what we're called to do. That's why we serve in the manner that we serve in. But I touched on it. The residents or the associates and the residents and the guests, they form this bond, and it's like they're my own family, right? When I have one leave us, it's just as hard as when my own family leaves us. So it's everyone has a special place in my heart for them.
Well, one thing I know, Lloyd, that's my last stop before I get to answer the big call, because my son told me that's the last doggone time he's moving me. As he put the box down in the middle of the living room, he said, "This is it, Dad. You're not moving any further." But we can make light of that situation. But for many people, that it's rather traumatic or very traumatic to give up their familiar circumstances.
Absolutely. So we try to do everything we can to make their environment there at the Christian Village to mirror what they had, whether in their previous location, whether it's at home, whether it's at an independent living or an assisted living. I had a family member a couple weeks ago say, well, let's do this and we'll bring it in. And they were exactly right. We bring in that chair or that blanket or photo albums, pictures, the Bibles, whatever that special thing is, it makes it feel like home. And that's what we work very hard to do. This is their home. No matter which level of care we're providing to them, that's their home. And so we let them specialize or customize it, individualize their space however they want to. If you're moving into one of the duplexes or the garden homes or, pick the paint on the wall, pick the carpet, pick the flooring, we're good with that because it's your home and it's where we want people to be and be comfortable at.
And then they have people like us who max out in the kitchen because we can't read the controls. So that's another factor. Mm-hmm. They're very patient about that. Come and help you and show you again how to use the microwave. That's pretty simple. You ought to get that once, couldn't you, Lloyd? Some of us don't remember. So the village is a great spot to be for those who need that kind of care. And it's inevitable as we get older that the wheels are going to start coming off. And you need an extra assist. And places like the Christian Village offer, I'm really a fan of it since we moved there.
Good. Yeah, our goal is to keep all of our guests as independent as possible, as long as possible, but that next level of care is always there when you need it.
You mentioned before that you were trying to kind of get back to the pre-COVID activities and things like that. I know COVID was a big issue in healthcare in terms of folks being overworked and places being understaffed. How are things at the Christian Village now in terms of staffing and
we're stable.
Support folks?
We're stable. We have a good group in there right now, and we're stable. We're pretty stable. So Some areas, and that's a generality, right? There's always ebbs and flows with different departments. You know, sometimes we might be low one place, but okay in another. But for the most part, we're pretty stable.
And speaking of COVID, ladies and gentlemen, the Christian Village made it extremely easy for we seniors to get our COVID shots. It was just absolutely very easy for us to do that. No more to do. You just showed up and gave them your number and your name and so forth. You got your shot and went on your way. That included boosters, too. So the village was really on top of that situation. Management did a fine job on getting that fine-tuned.
Are there any like summer activities that you have in the works that you might want to share with
Well,
Pick up
our
baseball.
2 listeners? Oh yeah, Soup's gonna come out of retirement. Is that what I'm hearing?
I thought I'd come out of retirement and play shortstop.
There you go.
You go.
Well, my life enrichment director is actually planning a country fair. So we always, our residents always go to the Logan County Fair when we have it. But when we go, it's the middle of the day. Everything's not always open. So Lori Cleary is my life enrichment director, and she for the healthcare side, and so she is planning a lot of activities around a country fair, everything from corn dogs to funnel cakes to a petting zoo.
Oh,
So we always do it. We always do the pageant, the queen, the fair queen. We've done the fair queen for the last 3 years, so this will be the 4th year of us having a fair queen. We have our own queen that we work with the Logan County. What is it, Logan County Queen
Yeah, association.
Association? Yep, and they come and they crown our Christian
nice.
Village Queen, and it's really a fun time, and it's a great time for the residents as well, and they're voted on and nominated by their peers, and we just have a grand old time. Get the
I'm the
popcorn
only
going.
one left that can remember the 1937, which was the inaugural Logan County Fair Day, that can remember the Logan County Fair Queen. She came from Chestnut. Her name was Edna Beeler, Buehlar. And her sister now lives over in, Mrs. Tom Comnick lives over in Emden. Little trivia that you didn't need to know, Lloyd. Nor the listeners, for that matter. But we'll fill a little airtime that way.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're doing a lot of outings this summer, getting them out of the building, enjoying the outside. This time of year, trying to get everybody out and about, and going to do some more fishing.
Yeah, I'm trying to gather some of the mobile ladies as they leave their table at noon. Come on, we will cross the street and walk around the hospital lake. I get a lot of ha-has for that.
Aw, they don't want to go on a walk with you?
Well, maybe one or two gave me a wink. I wasn't sure what she had in mind. 648-5510. Before we get in further trouble, go ahead, Mr. Kirby.
I was just going to say, if folks are listening and they're interested in learning more about the Christian Village, whether it's just information over the phone or coming out for a tour or anything, how would folks go about getting more information?
Yeah, just give a call to 732-2189 and ask for the admissions department, and we'd be happy to talk with you. Or if anyone's interested in volunteering, we have a lot of individuals come and volunteer, and we do anything from assist with the life enrichment activities to my other son was out there the other day. He was hanging lights on the gazebo. Did you see the new lights on the gazebo there the other day, Bill? Nice. Did that out there. So we've got lots of volunteer opportunities if anyone's interested in getting busy this summer.
What about the waiting list, Mrs. Halley? Do you have a pretty long waiting list, or how's that work?
Yeah, well, if we don't have any openings at the moment, we'll take your we'll take the name and contact information, and we'll reach out every so often, make sure you're still interested, and for that level of care, right? If we have someone that's interested in an independent living suite or apartment, then we'll make sure that they're on that list, and just make sure that that's still the level of care that we're interested in as we're moving forward.
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, I would say, how do you have to defer to Lloyd?
No,
He's
you're fine.
Pretty good guess for
Your
me.
name's on the top
Yeah.
top of the billing. So.
On campus, we have a really neat middle campus there, marked by a gazebo, open air gazebo, and walks all around. There are a lot of people for places to walk if they feel like it and are up to it. Some of us use walkers, some of us don't. I always admire those who don't use their walkers today. I got up the other day at a restaurant and stumbled somehow and fell totally out of control, and I was going in for real trouble when the guy grabbed me and kept me from going down. So I use my walker these days. But a lot of people use them on a daily basis, and our campus is well kept. And boys have coffee on Tuesday morning, sit around and lie to one another, talk about their girlfriends and so forth. That happened one time. Man was 102 years old and he talked about his girlfriend. He was the hero of everybody. What is the next problem coming up, Mrs. Halley, of which you're aware?
Oh, I don't know. I won't know till I get in there.
Yeah, daily.
Daily, yeah. They're just, every day has its own challenges and rewards, and we're as we have people move out for whatever reason, we renovate the apartments and living facilities, and those are probably it's not a problem. It's just the part of doing business, making sure the next.
We've got a 100th birthday coming up here soon. Billy T-Bird.
Okay.
His kids are having a little to do for him. I don't think my kids are going to have much for me because they know I want a lot of beer, and that's not allowed on campus. So I want to invite you in advance right now. Sneak your own beer in on October the 28th, and we'll have a party. Mrs. Halley, the garden apartments, is that what you call where Gene and I live?
Yes.
Are they? I suspect they're in demand.
They are. We do have a waiting list for them, yes. Yeah.
Well, they're lovely for us. It's all in the world we need.
Yeah. It's all I need. I'm done cleaning. I'll go.
Well, we've had our guest this morning, a lady who has a lot to do with our comfort and well-being at the Christian Village, Andy Halley. And make sure you mean IE and not DY on that, by the way.
I noticed you've been pronouncing it that way with the IE, so
yes,
kudos
right.
to you.
So we appreciate you being with us, Mr. 648-5500. One final call, then we're going to close off. Too late now. Right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Halley.
Thank you.
The preceding program is a presentation of WLCN 96.3 FM and WLCNonline.com.